pink hair ribbon. The morning sun filtered through the oak trees lining Maple Street, casting dancing shadows across the quiet suburban road. Marcus wiped his grease-stained hands on an old rag and stepped back to admire his work. The worn-out sedan in his driveway was finally running smoothly again. He had been a mechanic for 15 years, ever since he was 22. Now at 37, his hands knew engines better than most people knew their own families. It was honest work, the kind that left you tired but satisfied at the end of each day. Marcus lived alone with his daughter, Emma, in a small house with blue shutters and a porch that creaked when you walked across it. Emma was 6 years old, with curious brown eyes and a smile that reminded Marcus of his late wife, Sarah. She had passed away 3 years ago, leaving Marcus to navigate the waters of single parenthood alone. It was a Tuesday morning when Marcus heard the sound, a car engine sputtering and coughing somewhere down the street. He looked up from his coffee and listened. The sound grew closer, then stopped altogether. Through his front window, he could see a black SUV pulled over to the curb. 4 houses down. Marcus set down his coffee mug and walked outside. Old habits died hard, and the sound of a struggling engine called to him like a familiar song. As he approached the vehicle, he noticed a woman in a dark business suit standing beside it, her phone pressed to her ear. She looked frustrated, gesturing as she spoke. In the back seat, Marcus could see a small figure, a little girl with blonde hair tied up with a pink ribbon. "Excuse me," Marcus called out as he got closer. "I couldn't help but notice you're having car trouble." The woman, her name was Jennifer, though Marcus didn't know that yet, turned to look at him. She had kind eyes, though they were filled with worry at the moment. "Yes," she said, lowering her phone. "It just died. I was trying to call a tow truck, but they said it could be hours. Mind if I take a look?" Marcus asked. "I'm a mechanic. Live just down the street." Jennifer hesitated for only a moment before nodding. "That would be wonderful. Actually, I have an important meeting in an hour, and my daughter needs to get to school." Marcus popped the hood and peered inside. It didn't take long to identify the problem: a loose battery cable and a worn-out alternator belt. Simple fixes, really, but enough to strand someone on the side of the road. "I can fix this," he said, looking over at Jennifer. "I've got the parts you need back at my place. Won't take more than 30 minutes. "Oh, I couldn't ask you to," Jennifer started, but Marcus was already shaking his head. "No trouble at all," he said with a gentle smile. "Just give me a few minutes." As Marcus jogged back to his house to gather his tools and parts, Emma appeared on the front porch, still in her pajamas. "Daddy, what are you doing?" she called out. "Helping someone with their car, sweetheart," Marcus replied. "I'll be right back." Marcus worked quickly and efficiently, his hands moving with practiced precision. Jennifer stood nearby, answering emails on her phone, while her daughter watched from the backseat window. The little girl hadn't said a word, but Marcus could feel her eyes following his every movement. When he finally closed the hood and started the engine, it purred to life smoothly. "There you go," Marcus said, wiping his hands. "Should run fine now, though you'll want to take it to a shop soon for a proper checkup." Jennifer's face flooded with relief. "Thank you so much. How much do I owe you?" Marcus waved his hand dismissively. "Nothing. Happy to help." "No, please, I insist," Jennifer began, reaching for her purse. "Really, it's fine," Marcus said warmly. "Just glad I could get you back on the road." Jennifer smiled, and for a moment something passed between them, a connection, brief but unmistakable. "You're very kind," she said softly. "Thank you." As Jennifer opened her car door, her daughter suddenly rolled down the back window. The little girl leaned out slightly, her pink ribbon catching the morning light. "Mr. she called out in a small, clear voice. Marcus turned to look at her. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, with the same blonde hair as her mother and eyes that held an unexpected wisdom. "Yes," Marcus said, walking closer. The little girl glanced at her mother, then back at Marcus. She leaned forward, cupping her small hand around her mouth as if sharing a secret. "She's my mum," the girl whispered, though loud enough for Marcus to hear clearly. Her eyes were earnest, pleading. "Please marry her." Marcus felt his heart skip a beat. He glanced quickly at Jennifer, who had frozen in the driver's seat, her face turning a deep shade of red. For a moment, the entire street seemed to hold its breath. "Sophia," Jennifer gasped, mortified. "I am so sorry," but Marcus found himself laughing, a genuine, warm laugh that surprised even him. It had been a long time since he'd laughed like that. "Well," he said, meeting Jennifer's embarrassed gaze with gentle humor, "that's certainly the most direct proposal I've ever received." Jennifer covered her face with her hands, though Marcus could see she was smiling behind them. "I don't know what to say. It's been just the two of us for a while, and I understand," Marcus said, his voice softer now, and he did understand, perhaps better than Jennifer realized. Young Sophia sat back in her seat, looking pleased with herself despite her mother's embarrassment. Marcus took a breath, then made a decision. "Look," he said, "I know this is incredibly forward, but maybe instead of a wedding, we could start with coffee. There's a good cafe on the corner of 5th and Main." Jennifer lowered her hands, her embarrassment giving way to surprise and something that looked like hope. "Are you serious?" "I'm a single dad," Marcus said simply. "My daughter's inside, probably watching this whole thing from the window. I know what it's like to do it alone." and I know what it's like when your kid just wants you to be happy again." Jennifer's eyes softened. She glanced at Sophia in the rearview mirror, then back at Marcus. "Coffee sounds nice," she said quietly. They exchanged phone numbers, and as Jennifer drove away with Sophia waving enthusiastically from the back window, Marcus stood on the sidewalk, watching them go. Emma appeared beside him, slipping her small hand into his. "Who was that, Daddy?" she asked. Marcus looked down at his daughter, at her curious brown eyes and hopeful expression. "Maybe a new friend," he said. "Maybe two." As they walked back toward the house, Marcus thought about how strange life could be, how a broken car and a child's innocent wish could open a door he thought had closed forever. He didn't know what would happen next, but for the first time in 3 years, he felt ready to find out. The morning sun climbed higher in the sky, and somewhere down the street, a car with a pink ribbon girl drove toward a future that suddenly seemed brighter than before.